with G. Scott.
Man, one of the greatest to ever do it, played on arguably the best defense of all time, that Legion of Boom defense, Super Bowl champion, good friend of mine, Cliff Avril. Cliff, it's good to have you with me.
What's happening, man? What's
Good.
happening?
Look, man, I have probably interviewed you a bunch of times.
Yeah,
However, I always feel like the next interview will be the best interview. And the reason why is because there's now this many different versions of Cliff Avril. How would you explain today's Cliff Avril?
That's a good one. I mean, just growing, just finding ways to grow, get better. Not just an athlete. Obviously, you've seen kind of the maturation process as far as for being an athlete to being retired, being a parent, philanthropy, business, entrepreneurship, all these different things. So, I'm still figuring it out. But I think we all are trying to figure it out daily, right? There's no blueprint to this journey we're on. But I would say that just a guy that's trying to figure it out and, trying to support as many people as you can.
I want to go back to a period that I never have touched in these interviews because I think it is a sensitive time. I want to talk about right after you retire, those first year or two.
Yeah.
Because the thing is I've been around you guys for a long time. I've been around this game for 21 years. I've met a lot of guys that have left the game. And that period of when you retire and between knowing what you're going to do in direction, I want to talk about some of the hard times.
Ooh, man. Yeah, no, those times, like a lot of people don't talk about them. A lot of people really, it's interesting. Fans love you when you're on the field, but really don't care about that transition period for you. And that's probably some of your darkest moments, depending on how long you play. I always say this all the time, too, is the longer you play, the harder those next 2 or 3 years are for you once you transition because you've been in that game for a long time. So somebody like Tom Brady, I don't care how and people going to put money behind it and all that. That transition is tough. Drew Brees, that transition is tough. Myself, whoever else, it's tough because you've been doing something for so long for the majority of your life that trying to figure out what that next passion is, what that next purpose is, can be tough. So for me, I was adamant, luckily for me, hindsight, I got hurt early in the season. So I got hurt week 4. Okay. So that allowed me, and I always understood this, that allowed me to, while I was still under the umbrella of the Seahawks, umbrella of the NFL, that allowed me to get into the community and start, tapping into different things that I not necessarily sure I would be interested in, but I was trying everything out. I was meeting with, and the cool thing about being in Seattle is there's so many Fortune 500 companies and different things like that, that when the injury happened, a lot of the CEOs actually was reaching out to me and just one, checking in on me, then two, like, hey, we don't have a position for you, but we'd love to have you on the team, you know what I'm saying, type of thing. So I was meeting with Zillow, I was meeting with Microsoft, I was meeting with, radio stations because the media aspect of things. So I was meeting with all these different companies just trying to figure out, okay, what looks interesting and what can you try to see what that next step would be like. And I jumped right into media because for whatever reason, most of us feel like that's the next step. Although I wasn't a media darling, I wasn't in front of the camera a lot through my career, I was like, hey, let's try it out. So then I jumped into the radio and had my own radio show for about 1.5 years, 2 years, which was the biggest blessing. And not necessarily because of being on the radio or fame or whatever the case may be.
Why?
The biggest blessing in that was talking on radio is so hard, especially when you're doing it for 3 straight hours. And it helped me learn how to paint my thoughts and speak exactly how I want to speak in different spaces. So as an example, like now I'm so comfortable going into a boardroom and being able to get straight to the point and talk about it. Comfortable doing interviews, comfortable doing a lot of different things. So talking on radio just helped me being able to be in spaces that I probably most likely would be uncomfortable being, to be able to paint my thoughts and speak on different things.
Well, you all heard that. One of the hardest things to do is talk on the radio for 3 hours a day. You know what I mean? It's not easy, but so do you think when you former athletes come and get into that media space, is that the time that you kind of have at least a little bit of understanding about what people in sports media do go through? Because I know it's easy sometimes they can say, gee, man, you ain't never played the game. You don't know nothing. Sure, I've never played that game, right? No doubt about it. However, I can have an opinion.
1,000%. But see, I think that's the piece that there's a disconnect, because we have to understand that it is an opinion. It doesn't make it fact, right? So I think when I got into radio, I had to understand and realize, because I used to go back and forth with my co-host just about, hey, like, I lived this. I've done this. Like, you can't tell me what I've lived is wrong, right? But in the same breath, you're entitled to your opinion too, based on the conversations and the experiences and different things that you've had as well. So long as we all understand this opinion, I think that's what we have to rely on. But fans have to realize the person that you're listening to is an opinion as well. Like, don't take it for the word. Don't take it for a fact. It's just an opinion. Now, sometimes it might be a fact,
right?
But just understand it's an opinion of somebody else's.
Even the player, even if they played, 100%. It's not fact. It's
not,
still opinion.
It's not fact, but it's more. I think it now it does become more of a situational thing. Like, if we're talking about locker room talk, I've been there, so like that is based on my experience of being in there in comparison to the person that just has an opinion of something they've heard me say before.
Now, can I take credit for something?
Go ahead, man. Go ahead. I'm gonna give it to you if you deserve it.
Okay. When you were getting ready to retire, and at the time you had a home in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Yeah.
And I said to you one time, we were having a conversation. I said, "Hey, man, Cliff, I know you live in Charlotte, man, but Seattle is where you need to stay and be. This is your home. This is your network." I get a little credit for that.
1,000%. 1,000%. No, you get it. You get it. Now, it was actually a couple years before I retired. When we had this conversation, I'll never forget. We was going to Dino's or something like that across the way from the facility. And you just said something to me, and it didn't make sense in the moment. But when I was retiring, I see exactly where you're coming from. You was like, "Hey, man, like, for some reason, the city loves guys that actually retire as Seahawks, but guys that leave and come back don't necessarily get the same love. You have a lot of brand equity here as well, right?" So I'm like, okay, I guess that makes sense. But I wasn't thinking I wasn't seeing the entire picture of what you were talking about until it was time to retire. And it was like, okay, because that actually went into the process. When I got hurt, and this is the NFL for you, when I got hurt, got a neck injury, could have done almost paralyzed, right? Got hurt, had the neck injury or whatever. Seahawks flat out had a long conversation with John Schneider, coming off a Pro Bowl year now. John flat out told me, he's like, "Look, man, I wouldn't be comfortable putting you back out there on that field. Like, as much as we need you, I'm looking out for you and your family. Respect, right?" Because most teams wouldn't take that approach. And literally, once I got cleared, a couple teams still called my agent, like, "Hey, if he still wants to play, we'll sign him. Like, we'll sign him. He's gonna have to sign some waivers and this, that, and third, whatever." So when that was happening, I had already made my mind up that, all right, man, like, you're blessed. You played in the NFL 10 years. You done did it, a little bit of everything the NFL can offer. I thought about what you said. It was like, do I really want to go try and play for somebody else and then try to come back and be a Seahawk, or just retire on top, being a Seahawk, being top 15 in sacks, all these different things, and keep that love going? Or do I go try to keep playing? And that played a factor in me actually saying, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and hang it up.
Speaking of love, real love, you about to have your 11th annual Cliff Avril Family Foundation Dining to Make a Difference event that's going to be happening September 23rd at the Newcastle Golf Course. 11 years, bro. This year 11.
Wow. I mean, just to say you've been doing something for 11 years is crazy, right? But to have it, you've been a part of it the entire time. But also, it just shows the support that we get in the city, man. Like, there's not too many cities like Seattle as far as for where athletes can come, put their roots in, and the city continues to follow them after they're done. I've been retired going on 7 years now, and Dining to Make a Difference is still a big event, still based on, like, a lot of people still are just waiting on this event to happen. And they also see the work, they see where the money's going. They see that I'm pouring back into the city and to the community as well. So to be going 11 years strong, being retired for 7 years, and people still still excited about that event. We got a big surprise this year. My man Geno Smith and Josh Snyder, they're gonna have them a little battle out. Yep. So it's fun getting creative with building this out. And shouts out to my girl Jeanette. She's the one that honestly puts a lot of these things together. But 11 straight years of putting this dinner together, it's been pretty cool, man.
Yeah, it has been. It is great. I can't wait for the surprise that you guys got happening. So if you make sure you guys get an opportunity, sign up for that, find out more on the Cliff Avril Family Foundation, get a chance to be a part of that. That is absolutely incredible. I want to talk about a little bit of football, and then I'll come back to Cliff Avril and his family life. First, before I get into this new era of Seahawk football led by the youngest NFL coach in Mike Macdonald, before I get into that, I do want to ask, you are aware that when people talk about Seahawk football, when they talk about that era, it is some of the greatest moments in some people's lives. Like some people name they babies after y'all. Yeah. They name their dogs after y'all. Yeah. They name their cats after y'all. And I'm not going to continue, but you know what I'm saying? They have done those things. When you meet people, do you understand that, Cliff? When people see you out and about?
It's funny because when you're an athlete and when you're in the mix and you're in it, you're doing it, you don't realize the impact that you're having on the community. You don't realize how big the Super Bowl really is for the community. Now, amongst ourselves, like, man, okay, that was cool. Let's go do it again type of situation. But when you get into the city, when you're into the community, once you're retired and you start meeting these guys, and one of the weirdest things happened to me not too long ago, actually. Grown man walks up to me. He's like, "Hey, bro, man, it's an honor to meet you, bro. Like, you're a legend. Like, you're a legend in the city. Man, like, you're my childhood hero." I'm like, "Your childhood hero? Man, I'm 38 years old. Like, what you talking about?"
Right.
And he's like 25, 26 years old. I'm like, "Oh, the Super Bowl's 10 years ago." He was 15 years old. I'm like, "Oh, okay, that makes sense. But don't say that to me again. Like, don't make me feel so old." Because you know what I'm saying? I'm like, I don't feel that old. I don't look that. But realizing 10 years ago, so many people, from the age of 10 to 15, 16, 17, like they're grown people now. So them coming up to me and telling me that I was a childhood hero is wild. But getting into the community and everybody, like, it really played a big role in like a lot of people's happiness. A lot of people, like, people were just proud to say they were from Seattle because of what we were able to do. And none of us are from Seattle, which is crazy, right? But the love and that we receive in the city is so cool because of the impact that we had on them.
Now, your son X is about 12, 13 years old. You know what I'm saying? Does he know his daddy was bad as hell on the field?
Nah, I'm just dad to him. It's funny, but you know what's funny? What's funny is today was the first time when I dropped him off, he said something pertaining to even me being kind of cool in a sense of like, I'm dropping off at the school, at the bus stop.
Yeah.
And I always tell him, be great, you know what I mean? Be a leader before he gets out of the car or whatever. And he said something, he was like, he got a video of a bunch of celebs at the game this past weekend or whatever. I'm like, word? Like, who all you got? He's like, I got about 3. And he's like, and I live with one too. I'm like, what? I'm like, I'm just your dad, man. Don't even go that way. But I was like, that was the first time I've ever heard him even say something close to like being like that. And it probably, kids probably blowing him up or something like that at school about it. But that was kind of cool for him to actually realize, hey, like, I ain't just no normal Joe. Like I'm putting work in out here now. I'm just putting work in. So, but it was cool to hear him say that. My youngest son though, he has no clue. He has no clue. You just dad. Stop yelling at me, dad.
By the way, let's be real. Your youngest son is going to be a senator, president of the United States, or engineer. He might go to Purdue like his mom and daddy. Yeah. Those kind of things. All right, new era. Yeah. Mike Macdonald. Now, before I go into this, I just want to tell you something. Mike Macdonald is like the new daddy that's here. Yeah. And he came here, and it's not that you didn't love the last one, the old one, but then you get the new one, and you kind of like the new one. Yeah. Your thoughts on Mike Macdonald?
First and foremost, it's crazy that I'm older than him. That's the crazy. He's 36 years old, I'm 38 years old. Like that, like mind-boggling to me because when you think of coaches just being a little bit older. Yeah. Or all my coaches have always been older, right? But I love his mindset. Like I love the accountability piece. I love that he's a defensive-minded head coach, right? As we all know, defenses win championships. Mm-hmm. So like I like where he's going with that. I like how the accountability component of how he's making sure guys are staying on top of their stuff. And look, when you mess up, there's a consequence to it. When you do great, there's a consequence to it, right? So I love everything about that. And then I like the people that he's surrounded himself with. One of the coolest things I think that he's done that shows how humble he is and understand that his team is everything is bringing Coach Leslie Frazier on to the staff, right? Bringing somebody else that has experienced what you're about to go through, I think shows a lot of wisdom that he already has, in the sense of like, no, I don't know everything. So I'm gonna bring this guy on to, one, show me the way, and then lean on his experience and his and everything he's done so far to allow me to kind of like a parent, right? You try to help your kids go through this life with little bumper guards on and hopefully they don't experience some of the things you've experienced.
Right.
And him bringing Leslie Frazier on, I think was pretty cool.
Now, when you met Mike Macdonald and you talked to him, how was that? Tell us about that conversation.
It was cool. First off, the fact that he knew who I was and was a fan of basically the defense, of course, but he knew the history of the Seahawks. And also, I guess, great defenses. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a defensive-minded coach. So it was cool. I actually met him on the press day, but there was a gazillion things going on. So I knew kind of, he was just trying to figure out what was going on. But the next time I met him, he was, we just talked ball. And he was super cool.
I think that's what people, like, I hope people understand that defense that you all were on is arguably one of the greatest defenses of all time.
Yeah.
And would legitimately, if, right, I don't want to get into it, but Super Bowl 49. If that didn't happen, you know what I'm saying? It would have been no question.
No doubt.
It'd have been the number one. You can't even argue. Go to the barbershop. I still think it's the greatest defense of all time, but that's my bias, Sean.
Yeah,
fair.
Yeah, me too.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I know that no matter what I ask you right now, I know, and people know, that if I ask you about this current defense and what we're seeing, there's no way that you would talk crap about it. Okay, fair.
Mm-hmm.
I want you the best you can to give us a real, true answer about what we are looking at. I think that this defense is really good.
Mm-hmm.
The way they move around, the way they tackle is impressive.
Yep.
What are you seeing when you see this current Seahawks defense after week 1 against the Broncos?
I think they have a lot of potential, but also potential means you haven't done much either, right? But I think they have a lot of potential in the sense their back end, the guys on the back end, arguably probably could be the best 4 out there together collectively, right? The guys even up front, Jay Reed, Leo, and some of those guys on the edges, the young guys that's coming off on the edges, like they have potential to do a lot of great things. I like the way Coach Macdonald moves them around. He allows the guys to not necessarily stay still. You kind of got to pay attention. With us, you knew where everybody was going to line up, and we were just like, deal with it. But he's moving people up, keeping you on your toes. I like that. But the hardest thing to do in the NFL is be consistent. That's what made our defense so good, is we were able to be consistent. That's why teams are so good, is because they were the most consistent throughout the season, right? So that's going to be the next step is, okay, we've got a small sample size, week 1. Now let's go do this for the next 16 weeks, which is very difficult to do. But they have the right leaders to make it happen.
Okay, so be consistent. One of the things that your defense was able to do, one of the things that someone listening, I believe that everyone's striving to do to be consistent. Can you give us some ideas on what helps a defense stay consistent, a team stay consistent? What did you guys do?
I would say leadership plays a role. Pride in not being the weakest link on the defense. Meaning, Mike Bennett is my best friend. Love that man to death. We're going to compete every single time we step on that football field. I want to beat him. I want to have more sacks than him. He wants to have more sacks than me. I want to have more tackles than him. It's just a healthy relationship, right? I also know that Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, all those guys are depending on me, making sure that I do my job, right? Okay. Not jumping out of the gap to get my stats together. No, It's KJ's play to make. And when next time he shoots, it's my play to make. So having that confidence and understanding that we're a chain link too. One person does too much, it can throw the entire defense off. So having that discipline as well, right? So leadership, discipline, and loving to compete, not trying to be the weakest link on the team, I think allows you to have a chance at being great.
I'm glad you brought up some of the characters and great men on that defense that you had. But I got a bone to pick with the world.
Uh-oh.
You know who never gets mentioned on you guys' defense?
Me, Bang?
And one more.
Big Red Bryant?
Well, he gets mentioned.
Okay.
Nobody mentions the man that had 40 sacks in 4 years.
Oh, Clem?
Clem.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
he don't get enough love on that defense.
Chris Clemens does not get enough love, and of course, Mebane.
So I think I agree. Clem was a dog.
Oh.
Mebang by far is the unsung hero in that defense. Like, because he's closest to the ball, he's directing traffic. But here's the thing that people don't realize with Mebang. Mebang was calling the plays out before as soon as they lined up, he was telling you where the ball was going. He was like the linebacker for the D-line, but if you just watch film, you'll see him pointing where the ball's going. You know what I'm saying? Like he knows, like he knew football. And I think that's another thing that separated us is we all were on top of it when it came down to studying. Like everybody was on top of it. And Clem was just a dog too. But I think the reason why Clem might not get mentioned as much is because the longevity piece on the back end once he left kind of, you know what I'm saying? Like Mike and I were 3, 4, 5 years together. Clem was only with us, that group together, only 1 year. But Clem was a dog, man. Like much respect to Clem to what he's been able to do, what he was able to do when he was here.
I want to give context to Brandon Mebang. And I'm glad you said that about what people don't know about Mebang. Here's something that you might not have known. First, do you know that only 25,000 people ever in the history of the world have played one NFL game or more?
No, I did not know that.
Okay.
One or more, okay.
One or more. Only 1,500 have played 10 NFL seasons or more.
Oh, I did know that, yeah.
Okay.
Because I'm part of that 1,500.
right. 1,500. So kudos to you, bruh.
Yeah.
Now, let me give y'all a little something on Mebang. Look it up for yourself. Only four defensive tackles have played the game 13 years or more.
Wow.
So when you guys are talking about Brandon Mebang,
4.
Make sure you put some respect on his name.
Wow, I did not know that. I did not know that.
Make sure you put some respect on this. So this is what I'm saying. If you are a Seahawk fan, understand collectively what type of greatness was on this defense.
That's special. I did not know that. But Bank, man, like he definitely doesn't get enough credit for what he did, what he was as a player. And it's unfortunate because he plays a nose guard position, right? But like that position right there for a defense is everything. Because again, he's the closest person to the ball. If he jumps out of his gap, it's lights out for the rest of the defense, right? So like Mebang was a dog, and man, got nothing but love and respect for Mebang, man.
All right. This last part where I want to go to is I want to just tell you that there's many Cliff Avril I've known. I've known the Cliff Avril when you first got here, and you were sitting at El Gacho's by yourself, and I came in. It was at John Snyder's event. There's the Cliff Avril that first year you weren't starting, but you was playing. You know what I'm saying? There's the Cliff Avril towards the end of his career. There's a Cliff Avril. There's many of them. Yeah. But this current Cliff Avril is my favorite, and I'll tell you why.
I hope so. Shoot.
Well, no, because I see the calmness in your energy when I'm around. I see you with your family. I see X being around you front and center. Yeah. You know what I mean? I see this real estate. What is going on with the real estate, man?
Oh man, I'm building, baby. I'm building. I got my own company, Cliff Avril, CA Family Properties, where we buy distressed multifamily properties, we renovate them, we hold on to them for the long haul. But more so than anything, I built that company for my family, my friends and family. I've learned that real estate is a play that a lot of wealthy people participate in, and it's a generational wealth thing. So I've created a platform where my family can invest with me on real estate moves and being able to get that cash flow, being able to grow their net worth through real estate. One of the coolest things for me is my mom is one of my first investors, actually. And she's just doing it because I say she should do it, right? And she's to the point now where like she's saving up all her money so she can keep invested with me. But my mom has never received a check that she didn't have to clock in for until she started investing with me, right? So her like she's like, what do you mean? I don't have to go to work and they pay me? Like I'm not stealing this. Am I like, no, your money's working for you, mom. Like that's how the wealthy do it. Like these are things that I'm learning that I want to get the game back to, right? Right. So I'm creating a platform for my family to be able to receive that. And one of my biggest hopes and dreams is like I hit my homeboys up, hit some family members up, like, hey, what y'all doing this weekend, man? What y'all going on? Oh, nothing. We chilling or whatever. Hey, man, let's go to the Bahamas this weekend. Oh, I ain't got nothing going on. Let's do it. and I don't have to foot the bill. Like I don't have to pay for nothing. Everybody got their own because they got their money coming in. They done created another source of income where they can move around how they want to, right? Because at the end of the day, we all want to just buy our time back. That's all we trying to do. We just trying to buy our time. So how will we do that? Just investing, having cash flow, having different assets and different things like that. So I want to be able to give that to my family. Yeah. So that's why I'm doing it.
I see you sometimes sitting at the dinner table, talking to your kids and your sons and having them recite things and all that. What made you start doing that?
Well, one, I think the most important thing I can leave my kids is education and knowledge, right? Like I low-key want to tell them I'm not leaving them no money. But if I leave you with a bunch of information, you're going to know how to go get it yourself. Like that's my ultimate goal. So again, I didn't grow up learning a lot of things about financial literacy, right? Like assets and liabilities, understanding what investments are, those types of things. So I want their starting point to not be at the age of 30. I want their starting point to be at the age of 8. Because like now my son, he's taking a financial literacy course and he's in there like, Dad, I already knew this. I already learned this. That makes me.
Wait, your son is taking a financial literacy course?
Yes.
Hold on. What?
Yes. Well, first off, if I do leave them some money, I need you to know what to do with it.
Okay.
Because most times than not, if you didn't earn it, you're gonna blow through it. That's just what it is. Like that's all of us. We quick to be like, it ain't my money. You mean like that's just human nature, right? So if I'm gonna leave you something, I need you to know what to do with it. Right. And I want you to learn now. I want that to be a lifestyle. I want that to be. This is just what we do with money, right? It's a tool. We're gonna use it to keep making more of it, right? So it's important for me to make sure they understand that and do that. So when they start making their own money or if they get some money or whatever, they know this is what they're supposed to do with it.
Oh, I love that. Well, I can't have you leave here without giving and talking about the man that was here for 14 seasons.
Yeah.
Your head coach.
Yeah.
And I always say he's probably instrumental in my life changing as well. Cause you know what I mean?
For sure.
Pete Carroll. Have you talked to him lately? When's the last time you had a conversation with him? You seen him?
Last time, it's been a minute since I talked to him, but man, I have nothing but the utmost respect for Coach Carroll. You know, I know a lot of people might have whatever opinions on him, whatever, but Coach Carroll was one of the coolest coaches in a sense of allowing us to just play ball freely. As we all know, football culture in general is usually very militant, right? It's to the point where, you know, certain coaches want you to have your hat on a certain way, pants, shirt tucked in and whatever else. Like Coach Carroll understood that if these guys are comfortable being themselves, you could probably get a little bit more out of them, right? And I was coming from Detroit, so the cultures were completely different. So Coach Carroll has taught me so much in a sense of, you know, like I take this into entrepreneurship right now, like making sure that everybody that works with me all are very happy with their role and making sure that they want to be the best at what they're doing, right? So if they're being the best at what they're doing for me, then my company's gonna continue to keep going up. It's the same thing. Like he made sure that we all were comfortable and happy in our role as a defensive end, as a quarterback, as a linebacker, whatever it may be. He made sure that we were all happy being who we are, and he knew he was gonna get the best out of us, right? As long as you're competing too, right? So that was the extra edge to it. So I have nothing but respect for Coach Carroll. I did an internship with them his last season or whatever, myself and Michael Bennett. And I did it not because I wanted to coach. I did it because I wanted to see how he operated, how his operations were as a coach.
Okay.
Seeing how he communicates, seeing the expectations, seeing how the first meeting of the day is operating, and making sure that everybody knows what's expected of them. And then letting those guys go tell the players, hey, this is what we expect of y'all, right? So just seeing the dynamic, and I implement that into my company now. You know what I'm saying? So like just seeing how he operates, he's a wizard with it. You know what I'm saying? Right. He knows how to get the best out of people.
Do you wish you could see Mike Bennett every day?
More yes, but not every day. I wish I could see my dog, you know, a few times a week, go to dinner, go hang out or whatever. But every single day, yeah, me and him probably end up boxing at some point.
I know Mike B is gonna see this. And one thing I noticed about Mike B, he sees everything. Like the other day, he hit me up and he's like, "Man, your cameras suck." You know, like that. He just randomly hits me like that. You know what I'm saying? But is there ever a time that there's serious conversations?
All the time.
Okay.
All the time. I mean, we play around a lot, but man, we bounce ideas off each other. Yeah. We bounce family ideas off each other. If we're going through something family-wise, because that's the one thing with us is we don't really have that many people that can relate to what we're going through. Because if we call a family member like, hey, man, I'm struggling with this. Boy, you got money. What you talking about? You know what I mean? Like, it's something, but it's deeper than that, right? So someone like Mike and I, we're always it might be even a late night text, bro. Hey, bro, man, I've been thinking about this, bro. Like, what you think about this? Should I do this? Nah, you shouldn't. Oh, yeah. And he's quick to call me with whatever he got going on. So like, that's like, we ain't just football friends. Like, that's my brother. Like, that's my guy. We talk about a little bit of everything.
Both of y'all my guys. Y'all kind of like my bros, like, cause y'all hired me in the very beginning when, hardly was nobody hiring me.
And look at you now, you got your own show. Hey, but no, before we get off this though, I have to tell you that, and I may have told you this before, like, it's truly impressive to see what you've been able to do over the last 15 years that I've known you. From when I first got here, I guess it's been 13, 14 years, but when I first got here, you was the car wash guy. And you did something with that though. You did something with the information that you were receiving. You did something with the experience, the knowledge, the conversation that we were all having in Mocha. And like to see you, and I was telling Marshawn while we was at the game, he's like, man, where Mo where G about to go? I'm like, bro, he about to talk to the fans in the middle of the field. Like, that's dope as hell. You know what I'm saying? Like, to just see where you've gone to where you at now, having your own, bro, hats off, bro. Cause like, you really did something with the information and you weren't just happy being where you were at. Like, you aspired to do more and you did that. So congrats though. Like, it's really cool to see.
I appreciate it. I really take that, but I just want to say, and for anybody that's listening to what he just said, for any current players right now, if you can, put somebody on. That's how they did me, right? I mean, I'm for real. I mean, not just people that want, can I get $100, $500, or even though shout out to Big Red who gave me $500 because I didn't have no money for Christmas. Shout out to you, Red. But being serious, if you have an opportunity to send the elevator back down, or in the case of Cliff, Mike B, Mebane, a lot of you guys, Rob Sims, so many. You guys didn't only send the elevator back down. You guys came down in the elevator, grabbed me, pulled me on, and lifted me back up. So,
but to go with that though, I agree, putting somebody back on. But also the person that you're putting on, like, you always were looking to do more and be better. But like, you wasn't just a handout. See what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't, hey, give me this, and no, it was, hey, look, man, I'm working on this. This is what I'm doing. Let's see what we can do. Oh, for sure, man. Yeah, let's make it happen, right? You know what I'm saying? So like, you were aspiring to do something, and we were just, I guess, a launching pad or whatever you want to call it, but you did all the work. You did all the work. So no, shouts out to you. But yes, I agree. Put people on if you can, but just make sure you're putting the right ones on.
No doubt. We got about 1 minute, and I know my guy Frank is going to get me over there. 1 minute. There's your camera right there. You can look at the 12s, the Seahawk community, and you can say any last words you want to right now.
Man, first and foremost, I, for one, am very appreciative of the city of Seattle, the community. Y'all have always supported me in everything that I've done off the field, on the field for sure. When y'all going crazy on them third downs and allowing me to go get some sacks, that's all y'all. And I'm not even from here. I'm probably from the furthest state away. I'm from Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, and I made Seattle home, man. And it's due to the community, man, getting behind us, post-career, being able to do so many different things, open our eyes up to so many different things, man. So hats off to the city of Seattle. I have nothing but love for everyone, and I want to continue to serve everyone that I continue to bump into. So I appreciate y'all.
There it is. Hey, September 23rd.
Yes, sir.
There's your Cliff Avril Family Foundation. Go look it up. Come and hang out with us on that Monday. It's going to be a treat. Love y'all.
Appreciate it.
Hey, Cliff, thanks for coming by, man. We always appreciate you. You're always a champion here to this Seattle area. Hey, make sure you subscribe and share this video. But before we end this episode, it is time now for our overreactions and a little bit of buy and sell type situations. Oh, just a reminder, the Seahawks are 2-0. I'm joined here by Frank and, of course, my good guy, Paul. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start off with the overreactions. The overreactions are this. The Seahawks are 2-0. The Seahawks will win the division. They are in first place right now. Those Niners are going to have Super Bowl woes and hangovers. They're 1-1. Of course, the Arizona Cardinals, they're 1-1. And then you have the Rams that are 0-2. The Seahawks right now are in first place, and I feel really good about the spot that they're in.
And they get a third place schedule. So the Niners have to play a first place schedule. So our schedule gets a little bit easier because we're playing teams that ranked third in the division last year, where the Niners got to play the top dog in each division. So that's a really nice, helpful thing for us as well.
Your overreaction.
My overreaction, let's start with the Seahawks real quick. Outside of Patrick Mahomes, I'm just going to say it, Geno Smith is the most clutch quarterback in the league.
Wow.
He had the most game-winning drives last year at 5. He threw 7 touchdowns last year that gave the team the lead in the fourth quarter and overtime. And he just did the same thing again that we saw in week 2. He's carrying this team when we need him to. He's the second highest passer rating in the fourth quarter, only behind Patrick Mahomes. And for this one thing, he has no refs bailing him out. Patrick Mahomes has some refs bailing him out. I don't think it happened against the Bengals, but it's happened before. Patrick Mahomes has 17 interceptions called back from refs. Geno Smith does not have that.
I want to make sure I got this right on your overreaction. Your overreaction right now is that Geno Smith is the second most clutch quarterback in the league.
I can't say the most clutch because Mahomes exists.
Wow. I mean, I don't necessarily want to argue it because I'm going off of body. Like, one of the things that's hard for a lot of us as fans is that it is hard for us to talk about what's happening present day. We always, especially you damn Cowboy fans, I'm so sick of y'all. I'm so sick of you Cowboys fans. I'm sick of you Niner fans. Nobody gives a damn what happened in your past. Hey, Cowboys fans, y'all team sucks. You haven't been to an NFC Championship game this century. Sit this one out.
You know who's been a multiple? Carolina.
Oh,
you know who's been to a Super Bowl? Multiple Super Bowls? Carolina in this century.
So
we'll get to them later.
So, all right. So anyway, my whole point is when it comes to right now, sometimes you got to call out what you see. And what you're seeing, I guess you can't really argue with that overreaction of what Frank had and my overreaction of the Seahawks are going to win this division. Paul, your overreaction.
Gee, my overreaction here is one that has to deal with running backs, and I want to get your insight on this as well. I think my overreaction is the running back position has reestablished itself as a position of incredible value. Look at the 49ers without Christian McCaffrey. Yes, they won there, but how much would they have really liked to have him in that game yesterday? How are the Chiefs going to handle now with Isaiah Pacheco going down with his injury, and how are they going to be able to respond when you're looking at that running back depth chart? You're kind of confused and scared, and you're also, for the Broncos side of it too, their lack of running game is getting in the way of their development. So I know I kind of threw a curveball here on my overreaction, but one of my biggest ones is I think J.K. Dobbins is going to save the season for the Chargers. If you can have someone that can dominate on the ground like that, especially when you're the Chargers and you're looking at the Raiders on your schedule, you're looking at the Broncos on your schedule, and you're able to get the production that you've gotten out of J.K. Dobbins, that's great. The health, obviously, the big concern there. But I'm just curious how much impact you guys are seeing from the running back position, because I think it went through a little lull, and this season is showing us that running backs, good running backs, and the running game is really, really, really important.
It never went through a lull. The running back position has always been important, unless you have a Patrick Mahomes. And even Patrick Mahomes secretly had low-key a great run game. In order to win the Super Bowl, in order to win championship and consistently be in the playoffs, you need to have, it's very simple. Run the ball, stop the run. Only we fans got away from talking about running backs. Only we fans started to get to the point where we started talking about the great wide receivers. Now, that's why in the game against the Patriots, Geno Smith was so incredible. Because if you rack them and stack them, the Seahawks rushed for 46 yards. The New England Patriots rushed for 185 yards rushing in that game. And despite all that, Geno Smith put the Seahawks, on his back and was able to win. Frank, I'm telling you right now, You need a run game. Ask the Saints about how that run game is right now.
Yeah, you 100% need a run game. I think the difference is the idea of the running back itself is becoming more valuable. So I see what you're saying, Paul, because the run game's always been important. It's just in the last 10 years, unless you had a top 6 guy, you can kind of get by it with committee. You can kind of get by it with a couple guys. You can draft late. You can sign like Devin Singletary and be okay. It's kind of waning a little bit. I see your point 100%.
Okay, so now before we end, there's going to be some buy or sell type situations. Each of us are going to give our buy or sell situations. Here's mine. Do you buy or sell the Baltimore Ravens going to the playoffs? And I'm telling you right now, this is a very easy sell to me. I think that what we are seeing with the Ravens, I think we have seen the best of them before. I think last season in the playoffs was the end of the Ravens era as Lamar Jackson as the premier quarterback. This is no disrespect towards Lamar Jackson. This has just kind of like, it's just done. In that playoff game against the Chiefs, how many times outside of Lamar Jackson did they run the ball? This offense seems very predictable. I'm selling the Patriots going to the playoffs. I'm actually selling I'm selling the Ravens being anything of a playoff contender for the next few years.
Whew. I'm with you for this season because they're 0-2. They lost a really winnable game against the Raiders. And there's always the question about, can Lamar play a full 17 games? Is this defense up to anything without Macdonald? I think Harbaugh has his slack is shortening. I actually think he's the one that could be a surprise fire candidate within the next year or two. But do I think the Ravens are done long-term with Lamar? No. Lamar's an amazing regular season quarterback. He wins 70% of his games. He's lost one game in his career to the NFC. He's 58-21. No. He's fine in the regular season. The team will be fine. Yeah. This year, though, I'm kind of out in the playoffs. Okay. I'm with you on that part.
Playoffs for sure. I think that the Derrick Henry Lamar Jackson tandem is gonna come into fruition, come into steam. Super Bowl, I don't know. Playoffs, I'm taking them.
All right, Frank, what's your buy or sell, bro?
Let's stick to the division. I want to talk about the Pittsburgh Steelers. I want to talk about Mike Tomlin. They're 2-0, surprising everyone. They didn't even get any chance with Russell Wilson. He got hurt so early they threw out Justin Fields. It's been really ugly football, but it's Steeler football.
Hey, Frank, you don't even need to say no more.
The thing is, I'm convincing myself to buy this, so I'm going to say I'm buying because the thing that scared me about this team, and we talked about it earlier in the pod in the offseason, was the schedule in the last 8 games. They have to play their divisional opponents twice. So 2 games against Cincy, Cleveland, and Baltimore. Then they have to play the Eagles and the Chiefs. So that's their final 8 games. That's brutal. But maybe the division isn't as tough as we thought it is. Maybe Cleveland's a mess. Maybe Cincinnati's a mess. Maybe Baltimore misses the playoffs. Maybe the Eagles are regressing a little bit, and then all of a sudden that gauntlet of a second half schedule isn't nearly as bad. I'm buying. I'm all in on Tomlin. He's my guy. I'm so sorry for being mean about Tomlin, thinking this was his last year.
I'm buying too. What do you got there, Paul?
I'm buying as well. I have zero reason to doubt Mike Tomlin. There's no reason to doubt him. I trust him. He might be my most trusted coach in the entire NFL. Say a bad thing about Tomlin. He takes some of the worst rosters, and he'll still give you a 500 season with a shot at the playoffs. I mean, it might not be the prettiest football, but, you were talking about how the Steelers care about winning. They still win, and they give themselves a shot to win. And that they did exactly what they needed to do against Denver. Swarmed that rookie quarterback.
I will say one of my big worries with Tomlin is he has 2 quarterbacks at his disposal, and I'm just really worried he might mess it up. I'm really worried he gives Russell Wilson a chance, and that costs him some games. I'm worried that either he's going to make the wrong call, because we've seen it before where he's shuffling back and forth, and he's stuck with Kenny Pickett. Now I got to go with Trubisky. It didn't work. I'm going to go with Rudolph. And now I get a little worried that he's got a little too much at his disposal. I kind of wish it's like only stick with Fields, and then I think I'm all in.
So what do you guys think you're going to do? Do you guys think that when Russell Wilson gets healthy, that Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to be like, okay, Russell, it's time to go out there, even if they are undefeated?
I'm going to
Put
say,
it in the chat if you think that's going to happen.
I'm going to say that doesn't happen but I'm really scared it does because that might break the momentum of the team. And we know this about Russell Wilson, as Seahawks legend as he is. He can be a little polarizing in the locker room, and that can submarine your season.
I don't have any big changes coming to the locker room there for the Steelers. I think Russ is in big trouble.
Okay, last one. Paul, what do you have? What kind of buy or sell situation you have?
Well, my question is for you all out there as well. I'm in a situation in a fantasy league. I need to make a trade. I need to get something going. I'm looking at DK Metcalf. Am I buying or am I selling DK? Man, and I'm in a situation in which I don't know what to do. I believe in DK. We saw the big play, but I'm kind of seeing that JSN rise. I'm seeing the dependability of Tyler Lockett. I'm leaning towards selling DK in fantasy football. Frank, am I crazy?
Yeah, you crazy. You're absolutely crazy. You just saw 2 wide receivers. DK had 10 receptions, over 100 yards. JSN had 12 receptions, 117 yards. You just saw, matter of fact, that's never happened in Seahawk history.
That's true.
You are seeing the real Batman and Robin, this entire wide receiver core. I'm telling you right here, and this ain't an overreaction. Right now, the Seahawks have the best wide receiver core in the league.
Wow.
Now, take that. See, the thing is that JSN hasn't gotten there to where he's gotten the names of everybody. But you see what's happening? You see him out there on the field? And no, you cannot sell the superhero in DK Metcalf. Buy, baby, on DK.
The wide receiver trio that keeps getting compared to is Chicago, and hey, we're all fans of Odunze, but like he doesn't, they don't look ready yet.
Hey, who's the offensive coordinator for the Bears? I'm not really good at this stuff.
Shane something?
Oh,
Shane
yeah.
something?
Well,
Shane,
if you guys
Shane,
just put it in the chat if you know the answer. We don't really know that. All right.
Shane
Last
W.
thing before we go. By the way, I want to, Frank, when we were coming into this, we were going to do the whole buy or sell and overreaction. And actually, Frank's overreaction is that Bryce Young needs to sit. And as you all know, that news came out before we sat down to record. But this is what Frank had. And at first, I got a little hurt by this because I love Bryce Young. I love this young man. But then Frank, with his statistics and numbers.
The numbers.
Go ahead, bro.
Yeah, I never thought he'd get benched after 2 weeks, but he's fully entrenched in the Jamarcus Russell tier now. And he might actually be worse than Jamarcus Russell. And I got the numbers for the first 17 starts now that Bryce Young is at 18. For touchdowns, Bryce Young has scored 11. Jamarcus Russell scored 16. For turnovers, Bryce Young has 18. Jamarcus Russell had 21. For yards per attempt, Jamarcus Russell had 1 more yard per attempt per throw, 6.5 to 5.5. Sacks, he took 30 less sacks, 66 to 37. Passer rating, 71.5 for Bryce Young, 74.1 for Jamarcus Russell. And you're looking at the Carolina's defense is 29th ranked. The Raiders' defense in his first 2 years was ranked 26th. You're talking about wins. Bryce Young won 2 games. Jamarcus Russell won 5. I mean, these are bad numbers, but I actually think we might have a new all-time bust that isn't Jamarcus Russell, and he always was that guy. And I think now they're fighting for that spot.
The thing is, Paul, don't you despise when people come with numbers that you really can't argue? The fact that he put Bryce Young and Jamarcus Russell in the same sentence really hurt my heart.
And I want to say, Jamarcus Russell is playing in a little different era of football where these hyper numbers and efficiency, where Brett Favre could throw a bunch of picks and Peyton can throw 28 picks and be forgiven. That's not the way we play football anymore, and yet Bryce's numbers are worse still. That's what's crazy.
Can't argue with the numbers when you're a vibes guy, G. And I think you and I are big vibes guys, so that's why Frank is a big ad for us.
Man.
But what are the vibes saying he's better than
No, the vibes in Carolina and the vibes with Young are bad.
What are you guys are gonna take this to your barbershop, and you'll go in your barbershop and you're gonna say, y'all, we got a new Jamarcus Russell with Bryce Young, and a lot of people are gonna look at you crazy, and you're gonna refer to those numbers that Frank just gave you. All right. That's it for us. Now let's get to the X's and O's. Sometimes that roadblock is actually a stepping stone. Don't get upset don't get discouraged when something happens and it prevents you from going where you think you need to go. Sometimes that roadblock is actually a stepping stone for where you need to be. A lot of us have had situations where we thought that our lives would be this way, or we thought the directions of where we were going were going to be that way. You know what? Sometimes there's just different plans. And when those different plans happen, just roll with it, adjust with it. It's going to be okay. That wasn't for you. And if you could just say that to yourself, that closed opportunity or that roadblock that's in your way, it just wasn't for you. It wasn't your time, because there is a great possibility that what's for you after this is actually going to be better for you. So don't forget, that roadblock can actually be your stepping stone. Hey, I appreciate you rocking with me. Love you for that. And as always, be kind.